a little update on this Beaver Deceiver project. We've had a family of beavers moved into our bottom pond, and I don't want to shoot them. I don't want to eat them. I mean, I would, but I want more beavers in the world. They're a good thing. There used to be hundreds of times more than there are now, and there used to be apparently surface water covering more than the size of the state of New Jersey just from beaver impoundments in the United States alone when Europeans arrived. And that's a super good thing for the entire continental assemblage of ecosystems, to have that much water in the landscape being held and hydrating the ground, the drought proofing that can do, that did do, and the soil holding that all of those impoundments did in the landscape, because it was massive, because of the amount of ponds that were created in watersheds, especially high watersheds where soil is running out of the mountains to the ocean. Beavers, when allowed to, just cascade those into a terraced system of water and soil holding impoundments. And those beaver impoundments contain some of the richest soil we can find in the hills anywhere. They also store a lot of wood as carbon in the underwater, and they're kind of creating peat bogs of a sort. Some of the similar functions that peat bogs are from a carbon perspective and just from a soil resource perspective. So we love beavers and haven't wanted to kill them. It's illegal to move them here, and I wouldn't want to really do that anyways. You can see the big lodge, the far end of the pond, beaver mansion taking place over there. It just gets bigger every year. But they were sending water, or trying to send water, over the dam. I mean, they just are responding to the sound of running water and wanting to constantly expand their habitat, and the amount of safe place that they have to be and store food. And so they're constantly cutting trees and impounding water more and more. So I made a Beaver Deceiver with just pipe I had. I would have used, if I had to buy new stuff, I probably would have done 4 6-inch conduits. I had a whole bunch of PVC laying around, and I think I bought one stretch of it. So I used 3 and 4 inch, and I just did, I think, 5 runs of them. It can take pretty big storms. I think I calculated that this can take like 400 and some odd gallons a minute. I forget right offhand. But I also calculated that this watershed here can produce over 1,000 gallons a minute during a storm, but that doesn't last very long. So then the water comes up over the overflow spillway, which is a foot below the pond berm here, and I can have a nice flat laminar flow, U-shaped basin, flat bottom, and that can take the flood, which only lasts an hour to 3 or 4 so far from what I've seen, and I've seen this activated, and that's not enough time for the beaver to really start damming that up. He will come, he will come and start damming that up if it lasts a while, but it doesn't, and I'm here, so I can kind of undo that, and then the water drops back down to go through the pipes. So if it kept running over here, they would dam that, and then the water would be pushed further and further and go over the berm, which is what we're trying to avoid. But this can take, enough flows to be safe. And it was kind of a test run too. I mean, maybe I'll add pipes to it, but probably not. It seems to be working well enough. And I've caged it, and he's getting under the cage. And so I think the one challenge is I am still kind of walking out here, waiting out here. I've gone out here on the ice once, and I've gone out here before there was ice a bunch of times to kind of pull out the debris that he's getting under the fence, to try to, in vain, plug these up, because he does know it's coming in there. He flipped one upside down, so it was just sucking air. So this isn't like a permanent, hey Kira, this isn't a permanent solution. This does take some management. I think I'd have to have a better fence that's really buried in the ground here to be permanent. I don't think he's going to climb over, although, you know, I wouldn't put anything past him. They're very ingenious with what they do, and they work harder than I do. They're constantly working. They never go skiing. They never just chill out and like do anything else but work. So, hey, Kira. So, you know, I don't know what the long-term solution is here for no management. I mean, no management is the goal because there's always never enough time. But I think I could run these tubes longer into the pond to where it's like 4 or 5 feet deep. But that takes a lot more plastic. I don't want to do that. Right now, it turns out it's like once a month I have to just come pull some material. Kind of a nice happy medium. And it doesn't seem to be happening in the ice, under the ice, that much, which is good because I wouldn't want him to do this in the winter where he could get access to a working space that I can't. Then he would win this battle of wits if that happens. And, you know, ultimately, I wouldn't put that past him. I mean, they're so creative. And again, they're always working. They don't seem to do anything else besides for chill in their lodge. One thing that's really cool that we've learned is they don't go after, they're going after all these willows and dogwoods and alder, but they're not going for my black locust here. So that's awesome. That would be one reason to potentially eat the beav if he was starting to eat my black locusts. And he's not. He doesn't seem to like them. There's a whole hedge of them, and they're all planted down the pond berm at the base as erosion control, and down by the road too, and tamaracks and stuff down there. He doesn't seem to be going at those. You can see some of these you can just see the spikes on them. So that's cool. He doesn't want to get his teeth on such hard wood, I guess. The first. Well, like with anything, it's easy to make statements, and they do change over time. So I've watched the beaver avoid black locust for 4 years. He's cut everything else. But I guess he's getting hungry. Look at that. And that's really fresh. You see the chips down there. So he's starting to go after the Robinia pseudoacacia. Darn. Whatever, I've got a lot of them. I don't mind if he coppices these that much, but I wouldn't want him to start getting the ones closer to the road. If he cuts the ones around the pond, you know, actually that might have some benefit for some privacy because they'll get sprouts of them and be turn into a nice hedge. But interesting. He's probably getting hungry. So one of the reasons they're trying to always is, what is that, a second lodge taking shape? I don't know if I noticed that before. There was 2 lodges here that were abandoned, but it looks like the second lodge is getting some activity. So they're always adding to the top of their house, at least for a while, their lodge. And because coyotes and other animals will try to hunt them by like getting through their lodge. Yeah, this is becoming a beaver compound, I think. There was just one beaver, and then there was, I think it was a male who had expanded from it in the wetland. And then I think he got a mate here and was like, hey, check out this whole spread I got. Why don't you join me? And now I think they have a family. And gotta be sure the ice is solid here. You can see it's, so this is all his winter food. You know, one of the reasons they're expanding, I was gonna say, always the water, is that they want to deepen it to store more and more food, which is the twigs. They eat the bark all winter and they drag it to their entrance, which is underwater, all winter. That's their larder. So you could see some of this is pretty fresh. Grouse. But, you know, they're managing this habitat and this ecosystem in a really, really cool way. So we like them. We want them here. I think it's been pretty cold. Oh, that's interesting. It's like there's a breathing hole or something. Wow. Wonder if he comes to the surface here, if this is where he accesses the surface a lot. Jangles, is that active? The edges are where the water the ice gets a little sketchy. And Jangles has a lower PSI than I do, so I can't trust that if he's been somewhere, I can go there. Yeah, so this is pretty active. This is a second home that they're building. Well, I can hear people in the back of my head saying, you gotta shoot them, you know, you can't just let them take over your pond, but maybe we'll get